Good morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. Okay, here we'll just wait a moment or so as people come on this morning and say hi to us. Hi, Kim. Good morning to you. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. Michael from Wawa. Kim's from Timmins, Nativity. Rosalinda, Niagara Falls. We appreciate it. Jeanette from our staff. You get from Hearst, right? You get? Bill, how are you? Great to have you on this morning. Okay. Maria from Toronto. Chantal from Ottawa. Nellie, Nick from our staff is on. Claudie, good morning. Okay, we got a crowd coming. Joy, good morning to you. We appreciate it. Madeleine from Temiskaming, Quebec. Donna, Bell Valley, Ontario. Anybody on from BC? Wendy, good morning from Alliston. Nellie. Morris from North Bay. Susan from Florida. Good morning. Andrea, Nouveau Brunswick. And Jeanette, good morning to you. Joss from Sturgeon Falls. Zien, bonjour. Good to have you on, Di. Laura, New Liskard. Okay. And Jean from South River. Patricia, Alabama. Well, good morning, Alabama. And Joey on the reset. His wife's on the reset, down 12 pounds. Good for her. Yolande, good morning. Annette, New Brunswick. All our friends out in New Brunswick. Caledon, oh, beautiful area. Tammy and Marlene. We appreciate you guys very much, and good morning to you. And rainy BC Melody, and it's early. The birds are out, 5:30 in the morning. Deb, good morning. Okay, here we go. Now, let me just finish. I got to do this because I actually posted this morning on our private Facebook group. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I just want to tell you about the study done in Germany on mass. It's not good, guys. Okay, so let me just read it to you. And then we're not going to spend a lot of time, but it has everything to do with microplastics and this and that. And we talked about this the other day. New study on mass. Okay, so I posted it. So if you get a chance, go on our private Facebook group and look for that. Scroll down. I posted it out of Germany. Top German scientists. Hazardous when you wear a mask. Okay. Hazardous, like I talked to you yesterday about CO2. CO2 should be leaving your body and going out into the air. And CO2 is good for plants, not for you. It's a byproduct. Your body's getting rid of it. And I talked to you about what happens when you bring it back in. Like, you're not supposed to be bringing CO2 in. It's supposed to be expelled. But this German study was on what ends up in your lungs. And they were especially concerned with children. All these carcinogenics that are back in the body and especially in the lung tissue. You breathe it back in. I went for a walk yesterday. We have a beautiful area in Sudbury. You can go down to walk by the lake. And it's about from back and forth, from one end to another take you about an hour, maybe a little less than that. But it's a great walk. I enjoy it just because it's so beautiful. But yesterday, I literally was coming down one side, and and I'm saying 25 to 30 young lady, she's got a mask on outside. And when she sees me without a mask, she literally jumps off the sidewalk. I thought you were going to jump into the lake, for heaven's sakes. What did she think? The virus was going to jump on her? And I felt like saying, hello. I had just read the study before I went for a walk, the German study on what happens to your lungs when you breathe in this micro dust. I'm telling you, folks, I wanted to scream. I was so upset. You see young people wearing masks outside, for heaven's sakes. Are you kidding me? Anyway, I promise I was going to stay on this. Because the reason I'm going to do this topic today, okay, so enough said about the mask, okay? And my watch, which I don't have, by the way, I do have a watch, but it's not one of those smart watches that tells you to breathe. I don't want one of those watches, okay? I've got to be able to control my frustration. Oh, I can't handle it, guys. I can't handle it. Okay. Now, it was Charlene yesterday, and I said, well, maybe I'll do that question and answer, but I said no, because another study came out that I can sort of tie in Charlene's question. Okay, so Charlene's friends at work or whatever was saying that you can get fat from eating protein. Okay? And, protein is stored as glycogen, just like carbohydrates are stored with glycogen. And Charlene was asking us, Dr. Martin, is that true? Well, it's not true. It's not true. So today, okay, and the reason I want to sort of dovetail this together is because of a new study. This is an observational study in France with cognitive decline. And here's what it said. Did you know in North America, we consume, okay, the average person, you guys ought to know this, know these numbers, the average person consumes 200 pounds of sugar a year, just about. That's a dump truck load of sugar. And I talk to you about that all the time. But the other thing that we consume in North America is approximately 50 pounds a year of PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids, seed oils, canola, soy, rapeseed, all these oils in the form of processed foods. They are crappy carbohydrates. You have sugars and crappy carbs made with the so-called vegetable oils, processed foods. When you go to a fast food restaurant and you have chicken fingers and fries, you're getting processed foods. Okay? Chicken should be good, but when it's cooked in certain oils, peanut oil, and all that, very high on omega-6, not good. So in North America, we have terrible, terrible eating habits. One is sugar, the other is crappy carbohydrates. And remember this about sugar. And we have a Franken sugar called high fructose corn syrup. Anyway, let's put that over here. That's what we eat in North America, and that's not good for us by any stretch of the imagination. It's terrible. In France, where they did this study, it's almost, they call it a paradox because they can't understand the French smoke more than any other culture. Did you know that? In France, they didn't get the memo. Okay? They didn't get the memo about smoking. It's part of their culture there. And I've been to France, so I saw it, but that was 25 years ago, I think, when I went over to France to do a seminar. I enjoyed it. But here's what they eat. Okay? It's crazy. So when we have 50 pounds of seed oils, crappy carbohydrates, the French, they don't eat that stuff. You know what they eat? Cheese. They eat 50 pounds, on average, 50 pounds of cheese a year each. I'm only talking about cheese. I didn't tell you how much butter the Frenchmen eat. And one of their favorite dishes is duck liver. They love that stuff. Fat dripping. And they have less incidence of heart disease than all their European neighbors. And like it's 10 times better than us in North America, in spite of the fact that they smoke. So this study was saying, one of the things that they have less of too, besides heart disease and stroke, a lot less than we do, they have a lot less cognitive decline. Okay? So, what am I saying? Well, food is very important, guys. And when I talk to you about eggs, meat, and cheese, somebody asked me the other day, are you kidding? No, I'm not kidding. It's true. It is so good for you. This study comes out and confirms it because it's like a paradox over there. And they always said it was Frenchmen drinking wine. But this study said, no, it's the amount of fat that they're eating, especially cheese. You know, a lot of people, there was somebody on the private Facebook group even yesterday screaming about dairy, how bad it is for you. And I said, no, man, no. Dairy gets a bad rap because you're mistaking one part of dairy, and that is milk. Not whole milk, not the way milk should be coming out of a cow, but grocery store milk. And then they lump in all of dairy into that. Well, you see, the French, they don't drink milk. They don't go to the grocery store and buy milk. They buy cheese. They love their cheese. And so do I. Now, I'll tell you what the paradox is, and then I'm going to get back to Charlene's question. Okay, I will. I'll tie it up for you. Now, the paradox is that the French smoke like crazy, and yet they have very little heart disease and very little cognitive decline compared to North Americans like us. And I'm not telling anybody to smoke, okay? Of course not. But isn't it interesting when you eat fat, you get better. Now let me tell you why. Okay. When you have a carbohydrate, so there's 3 macros, we call them, okay? In nutrition, we call them macros. You're either eating a carb, a fat, or protein. Those are your 3 macros. You got that? Okay. And different strokes for different folks. When you have a carbohydrate, everything you have happens fast with a carbohydrate. You either use that immediately as energy, or you store it as glycogen. Okay? You store it as glycogen in the liver, in the muscles, and if there's no more room in your liver, or because the liver can only take so much, and there's no room in your muscle, that's why why do I talk about having bigger bins, have more room in your muscles. The bigger your muscles, the more storage you have for carbohydrates. Okay? That's why if someone, you ever meet someone that's a weightlifter or whatever, they can eat more carbs. Why? They got big storage bins. Carbs, if you don't use it as energy immediately, it gets stored in your muscles, in your liver, or the third thing that your body does is it takes a carbohydrate, turns into glycogen, and in the liver, in the muscle, and in your body has an amazing capacity, most people, to make what? Fat cells. Carbs are stored as fat. And when there's no room in the bins, your body makes more fat cells. And a lot of people don't understand this because they're skinny. And they go, oh, Dr. Martin, that can't be true. I don't have any fat cells. The only problem is, and I'm showing this for those who will listen to this on a podcast, I'm showing you 1 pound of fat, and those who are on live with me this morning can see my 5 pounds of fat behind me. But what I'm saying is, when you have a carbohydrate and you don't use it as energy, it will be stored as this yellow fat. Now, liver, fatty liver. Major issue today. Fatty liver. And for people who even are skinny, it's like an invisible fat. It's called visceral fat. You know what visceral fat is? It's fat around the organ. You can be skinny as a rake and have fat surrounding your liver, surrounding your heart, surrounding your gut, dangerous. And when the liver is full, follow me here now, guys. When the liver gets full of glycogen from stored carbohydrates, your body sends it into the bloodstream as, you guys should know this, triglycerides, TG. Dangerous lipids. Try 3 fat balls in your bloodstream. Guys, that is nutrition 101. Now that's I started with carbs. Now let's take fat. Fat is the best fuel in the world. Did you know that? It is. Fat is the best fuel. Because fat gets burned as a log on the fire of your body. Fat, if you ate cheese, okay, and when there's protein in cheese too, but it's mostly fat. Your body takes that fat and it lubricates your body. Have you ever heard of ketosis? You know what ketosis is? You can only go into ketosis if you are not eating carbohydrates. Now your body will burn a better fuel. It's called ketosis. It's a medical term, meaning your body is burning a different fuel. You're burning logs on the fire. That's what fat does. Do you get fat from eating fat? No. You get fat from eating carbs. Okay? It's science, guys. Now, what Charlene was asking, because her friends told her, you can't, protein, that gets stored as glycogen. No. So let's talk protein. Okay? Now, you see, look, guys, whether you believe in God or not, you know I do. And so I use the term, God gave you food in its perfect quality. For example, when you have an egg, follow me here. What are you eating? You are eating fat. You see it. You see the cholesterol in an egg, right? That's fat. And you see protein, the egg whites, protein. And there's some protein in the yolk too. When you eat protein, you know what happens? Protein is your body's building material. Your body repairs itself when you eat protein. Your body uses that protein and breaks it down into amino acids. So you make enzymes, you make collagen, you make cells. Your body use it as, think of protein as repair. Protein isn't for storage. Okay? Fat is storage, and fat that gets stored primarily comes from carbohydrates. Protein, I went to the waiting room at the hospital yesterday, and there was 10 people in there, and they had too much protein to eat. And that's why they're sick. Ooh, I get a headache when I hear that. It's instant. I have a headache when I hear the nonsense. Well, Dr. Martin, I got kidney trouble, and my doctor said I got protein in the urine. I must be eating too much protein. Oh, I get crazy when I hear that. And I never take it out on you. I don't, because I'm not aiming at you for that. I don't want to get mad at you. It's not you. It's medicine. It's dietitians. They're being taught nonsense. It's indoctrination. I have never met a person in 46 years of practice, ever. I know what's wrong with you. You're eating too much protein. Nope. Protein is for repair. And by the way, I just give you, guys, when you eat from especially the animal kingdom, your proteins from the animal kingdom, because you see what God does is he puts protein and fat together. So when you ladies eat chicken and salad, the chicken, would you please leave the skin on it and eat it? Because that's the way nature wants you to eat, because you're going to get fat with protein. So Charlene, when your neighbors, when your friends, when people tell you, oh, you're going to eat too much protein, you're going to get fat. And no. And one of the reasons you don't, okay, because I've told you this about the reset. When you're on the reset, you're not hungry. You're not craving. And I've told you why. Because you changed fuels. You go to the airport, they don't put the same gas in the plane that they put in your car. They just don't. I got a motorcycle. I don't use regular gas in my motorcycle. I use high octane, but it's not as high as the jet fuel that you use for jets. Protein and fat is jet fuel. Your body uses it much differently, and you are not hungry. You're not going to eat 30 steaks in a day. Well, I guess you could, but you just don't. Why? Because it's octane. Your cells are not, you see, when you eat crappy carbs, your cells are starving to death. Oh, gee, look at all the calories I'm eating. It ain't calories. It's quality. It's fuel. When you're eating carbs, you burn that so fast, it makes your head spin. Then it gets stored as fat. And you know, when someone brings up a red herring, you know what a red herring is, right? I mean, you can eat it. But when we say, when that's a, you know what I said yesterday? As soon as I saw Charlene's question, I said, that's a red herring. It's nonsense. It's a distraction to the truth. It's not true. Guys, you know more about nutrition than 99% of every physician I've ever met in my lifetime. They just don't study nutrition. And so when a lie comes about, oh, you need a balanced diet, Dr. Martin. No, you don't. You need a balanced diet of fat and protein. When you eat eggs, meat, and cheese. Another famous doctor, and this guy knows a lot more about nutrition. He is a guy that studied a lot of nutrition. So I sent him a little message the other day because he said something, and I understand where he's coming from, and him and I would get along on probably 95%. And he said, here's a good plate for you, 75% vegetables and 25% meat. I sent him a note. I said, Doc, in all due respect, I disagree with you. It should be the other way around. 75% meat and 25% vegetables. And what I didn't want to get into a long discussion because he knows me. So I would have said, well, when I say meat, I mean eggs, meat, and cheese. What makes cheese so good for the Frenchman? I don't know if you can see it back there, but on my father's side, both his dad and mom, you might be able to see it. There's our family tree is there. I kind of enjoy it. I like to look at names, and I'm a history buff. And the Rocheforts on my grandmother on my father's side was a Rochefort, Rochefort. And they can trace it all the way back to France. And the Martins, les Martins, because I'm French on my dad's side. The Martins go back to France even earlier that they traced on this family tree. I find it fascinating. I told you the story of 16 generations ago, Martins. And the story of Jacques Cartier. Now that's legend. I don't know if that's true or not. Okay? But all I'm saying is the French, they have it right when it comes to eating fat. What would cheese do? Guys, you know this. What's the connection between low heart disease and cheese? Again, I want you to put your thinking caps on. This is a teaching moment. What is it about cheese that is so good for your heart? Contrary to what they would teach you, even in medical school, if they taught nutrition, and even the dietitians that I know. What is it about cheese? Vitamin K2. Because K2. And cheese curds has the highest source. So when you eat butter and you eat cheese, there's K2 in meat and there's K2 in eggs too. But really high in butter. The French love their butter. And the French love their cheese. 50 pounds a year. Average. I think I eat 50 pounds of cheese a year. I think so. I love cheese. But what is it? It's vitamin K2. And vitamin K2 takes calcium from cheese. See, I'm not against eating calcium. I don't want you to take calcium as a supplement because it never gets to your bloodstream. It never gets to your bones where it belongs. So don't take calcium. Eat your calcium. Eggs, meat, and cheese. Butter. But what vitamin K2 does, it takes calcium that you just ate in cheese, and it takes it out of your bloodstream and puts it into your bones. What does that do? Well, that keeps you from hardening of your arteries. That's why the Frenchmen, in spite of smoking, have much lower rates of heart disease. That's what the study is showing, and that's what I've been preaching to you for years. Vitamin K2. The Rodney Dangerfield of vitamins. Nobody gives it any credit. They don't know what it is. That ought to be the first day of nutrition. Better have K2. I get a lot of K2. Why? I eat a lot of cheese, butter. I make a steak, guys, and the last thing I do on my steak is I take this much butter, and I mean it. Okay? I'm showing an inch of it, thick, and I melt it on top of that steak because I'm going to get a perfect food. With vitamin K2, there's some K2 in the steak, but I get even more K2, and you know how good that tastes? Well, Dr. Martin, don't use too much butter. It's fattening. No, it's not. Butter's not fattening. Cheese is not fattening. It's not. Oh, no wonder they're so fat. Look at all the cheese. Nah. They're eating the bun. You know the cheeseburger with bacon? And it's the bun that does it to you. You got the memo? 2 things. Eat like the Frenchmen, but don't smoke like them. Don't start. Okay. So, Charlene, I hope I answered your question. I said I'd probably do it on a Friday, but when this study came up about France and what's happening over there to the Frenchmen, I figured I'm going to just put it together and we'll talk about it. Okay? Okay, now, tomorrow's question and answer Friday. Send your questions in. Okay? And that's always a popular program, and we appreciate all the questions. The Martin Clinic Facebook group, I posted this. I posted a study about the German study on the mass. Unbelievable, guys. The unintended consequences. Oh. And thank you again for the reset, the metabolic reset. The numbers are incredible of how many books we've sold of that. It's great. We appreciate it. I'm writing another book. I've got about 3 or 4 things in my head right now, and I'm starting to write it out. And like me, all I need, here's how I write a book. I get an outline. When I finish my outline, I got a book. Okay? So that's, I'm working on another one now. Okay. Love you guys. And I mean it.